Metaphor ReFantazio is a game that I have been keeping my eye on since its first teaser. This new IP that visually looked like Persona but gave the vibes of a fantasy-style game. Of course, now having seen the 20-minute showcase that has been out for a while now, and I know I've been pretty late to it, but I still wanted to go over all that we know, as Metaphor is looking like it could be one of Atlus's most successful titles yet. The one leading this project is Katsura Hashino, who you may also know as the director for Persona 3 through 5 at P Studios. Of course, you have the character artists from Persona, Shigenori Sojima and Shoji Meguro, the composer of Persona, returning for this title as well. Even artists from Nier Automata and Neon Genesis Evangelion also had a hand in this project. So from the jump, this game has so many veterans, so much talent riding behind it already. And unlike Persona, Metaphor ReFantazio takes its world in a more medieval fantasy setting, giving it a fresh take from games that came before. But for today's video, I want to go over all of the important news from the showcase presentation, and all that we have to look forward to in Metaphor ReFantazio. As always, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy videos just like this. Now, Atlus has always been known for stories that have lots of fantastical elements in their games, many that may seem over the top and larger than life. However, underneath it all speaks on real-world issues and personal conflicts that occur in the real world. It seems that in Metaphor, those themes will continue as well. The concept here revolves around an election where any person of any social status can become the next king by gaining the support of the public. This sees a young protagonist, which is us, form bonds with people you meet on your journey to help gain favor to the throne. In your typical underdog fashion, it's also said that the main protagonist is from a tribe that is scorned upon by others. In this sense, it will further convey the importance of understanding between your fellow man regardless of social standing and misconceptions. Gaining that favor will come in many different ways, such as participating in numerous quests or meeting as many tribes around the world as you can to garner that support. Similar to Persona, forming bonds, or as this game likes to call it, the follower system, will help you level up and gain new skills for battle just as you would in any other Atlus title. When you think about Persona, or Atlus games in general, you probably think about their music, right? Well, it comes to no surprise that Metaphor already seems to have a top-tier soundtrack due to the very talented Shoji Meguro, known for his incredible work on the Persona series. It was said that Katsura Hashino didn't want Meguro-san to feel constrained by his work in Persona, and felt that they should go into a more orchestral sound for Metaphor to fit the game's world. It's something that I love seeing a lot in the industry, when these composers are allowed to try a different style of music and show just how creative they can really get. I know some may express how a composer should stick to what they're best at, but for me, I see it as letting the composer try to challenge themselves with something new instead of sticking to one formula for so long. And don't take that the wrong way, that's not me dunking on their work. To not put their creative freedom in a box, but to let them experiment with anything new, with a new sound. That to me is very refreshing to see. I will say that in this case, change in whatever form isn't necessarily bad. I'd much rather see what other musical genres Meguro-san can tackle when faced with that challenge. It sounds like the approach to open zone music in the game will sort of act like music that is playing in the main character's head. It almost sounds like you'll be able to change the music while in these open areas of the game. Whether that ends up being the case or not will have to be seen. But it would be cool to change the music in exploration like you were in the Regalia in Final Fantasy 15. Speaking of exploration, on your journey you'll have a giant vehicle to travel in called the Gauntlet Runner. This pretty much acts like the main hideout for the party. Metaphor heavily emphasizes exploration in a way that you just couldn't get in Persona. So things like towns are filled with a ton of NPCs to talk to and vendors to buy from. To move around areas faster, players can also just ride on their swords straight anime style. And if you find you want to move around quicker than that, well, the game also provides a fast travel system similar to the Persona games as well. The team over at Studio Zero really wanted to give that sense that you were on a long journey. By traveling to new towns, rounds, staying at inns, and utilizing the time mechanics within the game. They really wanted to emulate that old JRPG feeling that they have stressed is very hard to convey nowadays in modern gaming. Of course, at different inns and shops lies vendors to provide new weapons, give you new strategies and information in the battlefield, or find bounties of challenging creatures as you go forward. And as said before, Metaphor heavily relies on the concept of time, and on your journey, most of that time will probably be spent within the Gauntlet Runner. Things like your daily activities, from cooking with the ingredients you've gathered, reading books, or hanging out with your comrades to level up stats. These are the systems you are more than likely familiar with from Persona. You can tell that the team really wanted this to feel like a big journey, and even more so than Persona, taking your time and thinking things out seem like it'll be extremely important to maximize your efficiency. There is so much more content within the Gauntlet Runner that hasn't been revealed yet. It looks like we have only scratched the surface of how much content this hideout will really contain. Now, if you didn't think this would resemble Persona in any way besides its visual presentation, well, think again. In Metaphor, instead of wielding the power of Persona, players will be able to command a power called archetypes. These are more akin to a job system you would see in many other JRPGs that would provide a specific skill set in battle. One archetype may be a healer, while another may be a thief that steals items from the enemy. A bit different from what you would see in Persona, where each one could have the potential to have any type of skill. But I believe the most unique thing about this game so far is how the battle system works here. If enemies are too weak, or like most call them trash mobs, the player can pretty much mow them down with a single slash instead of being brought into a turn-based battle, and thus saving tons of time. It's only when facing a stronger opponent that a turn-based battle begins. This, I think, is one of the more helpful features I've seen in a JRPG. I cannot tell you how many times I have entered a battle in any JRPG to fight the weakest enemies for the most minimal XP ever. I think what Metaphor is doing here is something that should have been done a long time ago. Metaphor ReFantazio has a lot going for it, to say the least. It's a project filled with an all-star team and the culmination of 35 years of Atlus, adapting systems that came before with Persona and the SMT series and mixing that with everything Metaphor has to offer. Everything we have seen, it really makes this look like it could be one of Atlus's best in a slew of amazing titles they have released throughout the years. And currently, Atlus seems to be at their absolute peak when it comes to releasing quality experiences. So tell me how you feel. Are you excited for Metaphor ReFantazio? Is there anything you love or hate about it? Or are you just unsure about the game as a whole? I guess we will all have the answers come October 11th, 2024.